Peter, what's been happening in court this morning?
Well, the court's heard that this 15-year-old defendant, along with 4 other teenagers, have already admitted causing grievous bodily harm to Robert Maltby, Sophie Lancaster's boyfriend, in this attack in the Bacup Stubberley Park on August 11th last year. Now, the prosecution says that attack on Robert Maltby was savage and merciless, and that the gang acted like a pack of wild animals, and that they singled out Robert and Sophie simply because of the way they looked and dressed, not because of anything they'd done. They classed them as goths and moshers. Now, the prosecution says that while 5 people have admitted attacking Robert Maltby, 2 of them then turned their attention to Sophie, the 15-year-old defendant who denies her murder here today, and another teenager who has already admitted killing her.
And I understand a statement's been read out from Robert Maltby.
Yes, we've heard that Robert Maltby cannot remember anything about the attack at all, but he has said that Sophie and he had been targeted before in the past because of the way they looked and dressed. He said that he didn't class him and Sophie as goths. They were just individuals. They had an individual style. They didn't have a name for it. But he said that they'd almost expected that at different times they would come under attack because of the way they looked. Now, the 15-year-old has denied murder, and the trial is continuing.
And what was actually said about the attack on Sophie?
Well, the prosecution says that Sophie was on her knees at the time that she was attacked by 2 youths, that she was calling out for help and crying out to try and stop people attacking her boyfriend. She came under a sustained and vicious attack. She was punched, kicked and stamped on. We heard one statement read out that was given by a witness in the park. It said it looked like they were running over and just like kicking her in the head and jumping up and down on their head or something. They were kicking her all over her head. Now, we've also heard that ambulance men who arrived at the scene couldn't actually tell the sex initially of the casualties because their injuries were so bad. Robert pulled through. Sophie died 14 days later after the attack.
Thanks, Peter.
Custody. Sophie Lancaster, who was 20, and her boyfriend, Rob Maltby, were attacked in Bacup's Stubberley Park early on Saturday, the 11th of August last year. Today, a jury heard how a crying witness pleaded for an ambulance.
I can see the ambulance, please. I can't see where it's going.
It will do, don't worry. Calm down for me.
It's coming, please.
I'm not going anywhere, but I need you to calm down. I need you to be able to tell the paramedics if it's anything, you can tell them, but you stay calm.
The defendant, who denies murdering Sophie, has already admitted, along with 4 other teenagers, seriously assaulting her boyfriend. At Preston Crown Court, Michael Shorrock QC, prosecuting, said the gang, like a pack of wild animals, savagely and mercilessly attacked and beat up Robert Maltby. He and Sophie had been singled out, he said, not for anything they had said or done, but because they looked and dressed differently to the defendant and his friends. It's the prosecution case that after attacking Robert Maltby, the defendant and another youth who's already admitted murder turned their attention to Sophie. The prosecution says Sophie was on her knees cradling her injured boyfriend when she herself was the victim of a sustained and vicious assault. She was punched, kicked and stamped on. She never regained consciousness. She died from those injuries 14 days later. Because of their ages, none of the teenagers involved in the case can be named. In statements to the police, the defendant has repeatedly insisted he played no part in the attack on Sophie Lancaster. The trial continues. Peter Marshall, North West Tonight, Bacup.
It's hard to tell how mixed up you feel. sadness. This feeling is not joy. I truly understand.